Hey, I'm Brittany City and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I chat about everything from tech and productivity to fashion and lifestyle. So if that sounds like something that you're into, go ahead and click that subscribe button. This video is so long overdue. To be honest with y'all, I really started drafting this outline for this video this time last year. And throughout last year, y'all, tech took me through it. And so I'm actually happy that I waited to do the video because my lessons learned have grown. I've learned more going through all of last year, and now I'm in my, I would consider this to be my third official tech role. Like, I'm at a tech company, but you don't have to be in a tech company to be in a tech role and all of that, so you could consider it my fourth, however you want to slice and dice it. But I have a lot of lessons learned from my experience, and I feel like in being in the tech industry more so. Of course, some of these do still apply to my work experience overall, even when I was working in more of a healthcare domain. But I want to say a lot of this experience comes from me working in the tech industry. So before I begin, go ahead and make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, and then we can get started. All right. So I want to say I have like 5 lessons learned. Um, but you know me, I might go over. So we're gonna see. Um, but I want to say my first lessons learned immediately off the gate, first tech role that I really got into, I would say a lack of diversity. That literally smacked me in the face. I felt that even when I was being a data analyst at Vanderbilt, when I was in a healthcare setting, a lot of women worked there. So there were women scientists, women doctors, women administrative roles. There were a lot of women. So even in times where I was the only black person or black girl or whatever, I still had a lot of women that were in my age group where I could find some type of similarity. So I had no problem eating lunch with them. I went on work trips with them, different things, and I feel like we really clicked. Like, I've attended one of their weddings. I was in somebody's wedding. I feel like we really clicked a lot better. When I first got into my first tech role, there were women there, but they were a lot older, which kind of creates a little bit of a barrier for finding that neutral ground and where we have similarities. Not saying it's impossible, but that was something where my main peer was 2 years from retirement. So let's be real, there were a lot of differences, and she was a white woman. There were no black men or women on my team. There were a lot of men. So it was 2 women, and then all the rest were white men. And with that comes, just differences. I feel like the way that they may joke culturally, things that we say, things that we talk about. I remember having times where this was even in my first role when I was in healthcare, I would be called you're very professional. And that's already a weird compliment to give somebody, but I really felt like they considered me to be professional because there were some things I just did not talk about. To being a Shurian, being at HP, and now at Live Nation, it's just a diversity off the bat. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love it. It's black people everywhere. I'm seeing so many different black people, black men, black women. On my immediate team, I have a black woman. I also have a white woman that is a similar age as me, who's really cool. I feel like we click. The whole team, we really vibe very well. But I really, really feel like cybersecurity, and just on Twitter and different places where I've seen people talking about cyber, it just seems like a more diverse field. A lot of black women are joining that field. So if diversity is something that's important to you, you might want to check that out. And on the flip side of that, I want to note that networking is so key. So last fall, I attended Afrotech, and I have a blog about that if you want to see my experience. I loved it. I cannot wait to attend. I'm going to Render ATL in May. Let me know if you're going to that. But those are your ways where you can kind of find that commonality with some people that are also in tech, even if you do work on a team that is not as diverse. So, not saying that you have to not take a job because it's not diverse or leave a team because it's not diverse, but I just want you to be aware that this is one of my lessons learned, that diversity is still a very crucial thing in this industry, and just be aware of it. And so, you can play your part in helping, once you get on a team, help other people get on board. If you see other job openings, there are ERGs at a lot of companies. So, kind of finding those different spaces and safe spaces for you to network and connect with people like you. And this is not just diversity along the lines of color, this is gender, this is sexual orientation. Any type of diversity is still lacking in this industry. And so network, go to conferences, join Twitter spaces, Baddies in Tech. They have a Discord, and I want to say they have like a little lunchtime, little chat thing. So just find opportunities like that. I'm going to go on to the next one. So I don't really see this as much now, but I want to say last year, probably the top of last year, whatever, it was just off the same chain with all of these tech influencers. And a lot of them will show, like, okay, I'm at the nail shop, I'm at Target, I'm doing all these different things. And I just want to let y'all know tech is still work. So you still need to have skills in project management, time management, prioritization. Those types of things will be key because for me, when I left the healthcare industry and the nature of kind of that role, I had more of a micromanager. The beginning of my role before I got into data was a lot more administrative. So a lot of it was more like, these are your tasks of the day, these are your tasks of the week. It's more outlined. And as you progress through your career, and now me being in senior level, I don't spend as much time, I would say not even as much time actually doing the task. I'm spending a lot of time also brainstorming new things. What are new developments? What are new enhancements? What are, out going and learning different things, learning new technologies that I might can bring back to my team, different platforms, things that can be helpful to my team. And so don't be fooled by the tech influencers. I will still say it's a mild workload. Like, you will have downtime. You will have days that's busier than others. All companies will be different. So that's another thing I really noted, is that you have to really, that's a thing in your interview, kind of figuring out how is the team structure. If you're going to be the only person doing the work, if it's split by different people, who are your stakeholders, how many people will be relying on you to answer questions, give them data, or give them any type of product or service. I will say for my current team right now, I'm still at a 30% meetings, and that's how I was at my previous role. I will say maybe 20%, 20 to 30% meetings. But we have like a stand up, and then we are starting to do this thing where we do show and tells and presentations to like other departments. But then I still spend a lot of time doing that individual work, brainstorming new things, researching new things. And then I also collaborate with my manager. We're like the two data people on the team. So if we're both working on something, we'll have times where we get together and kind of, swap ideas, think about things together. But that kind of leads me to my next thing, is learn how to prioritize yourself and really assert yourself in the space when you get there and when you get into these new roles. I feel like when I first got into the tech industry, I was just like, I'm just happy to be there. And you kind of just keep your mouth shut. You kind of try to stay low because you don't want to get fired, or you don't want to miss out on the opportunity. But I think as I started to grow with my seniority and different things, I've just started to be like, let me set this straight. I'm not meeting after 4 o'clock, really 3:30, you're pushing it Central Time. So it's like those types of things where you need to prioritize yourself. Maybe pick a day out the month where you take a personal day, really assert yourself in meetings and don't get talked over. That's a big thing as a woman, especially. Different things like that where you're really prioritizing yourself mentally, but also like professionally, if that makes sense. And so, like, some notes I have is like, during the interview stage, ways to prioritize yourself is to ask questions about the team structure. See if their work and what they do even aligns with your professional goals. Because to be so honest, jobs will list 20 different technologies, 50 different technologies on the resume, and you could end up on a job and only work with one thing. Only sit and do one thing that's completely different than what you thought the role was going to be. So, really dig into those questions and try to get insight on what the role is really about. You may, kind of can dig around, look on LinkedIn, ask some people some questions that didn't necessarily interview you for a long time or different things. Kind of try to dig around and find out what the role really entail, because you have to see each job as a stepping stone for your overall career goals. So no job is going to be perfect, or they may not have the dream thing you want to do right now, but just make sure it is making sense. So really sit down, identify what those career goals are that you have, and don't just get a job to get a job. Make sure that they align with your goals and what you want to do. And then next, after the interviews is on the job, identify a work schedule that works best for you. And so, like for some people, including me, like that might be a day where you don't have meetings and you're just digging into your work or digging into researching things. And so, if you have the flexibility to be able to block your calendar, do different things, I would definitely encourage you to do that. I am currently working on a team where my manager, who I collaborate with the most, he's in Eastern time. I'm in Central time. The majority of my team is on the Pacific Coast time, and some of my team is in London. And so, with that, trying to do scheduling and different things can be a little messy. And I've realized even people that are in the Eastern time zone, they prefer to work at like 11 o'clock. They might start their day at 11. And right now, especially while I'm in school, that does not work for me. So, really had to state, like, hey, on especially days where I have school, I have to shut that computer at 4 o'clock to at least give me an hour breather before I sit through this 4 hour class. So, things like that, where you just really prioritize yourself and assert yourself and let them know, like, I'll get the job done, but let me do it my way. And lastly, with that is tracking your wins and setting your own goals and milestones for that role. That's a way where you're really prioritizing yourself, your self development. You're keeping track of your wins so that when it's time for that promotion to come around, you can advocate for yourself. All those types of things, ways that you can really prioritize yourself, that I've learned. Next, kind of already touched on this, but job title does not equal the job role. And so, really read those job descriptions and ask those questions. So that's kind of what I already mentioned, but I put it here because I've interviewed for roles with many different titles. I've worked jobs with different titles. Even now, I'm doing work that relates to all points of data. So from data engineering, data analysis, data science, we're touching it all. And I'm not sure if that's me being in a senior level in data or if that's me being one of the only data people on the team. So it kind of just depends. And that's why you ask those questions and kind of see, and also be true with yourself. See if, okay, I can take this. This is going to help stretch me. I'm going to help be able to learn a lot. That's kind of why I took it. But you may feel, okay, I'm just now, this is my first data role. I might not need to be at a company, a startup or a large company where I'm the only data person. I might need a mentor or someone that I can work under to help review my work, if anything, or that can, teach me things, all that. Um, and lastly, I have domain knowledge is everything. And so that's what I honestly love, love, love about tech, is that you can go from being a software engineer at a hospital to a software engineer at a retail company, a fashion company. You can move industries and still do your tech profession. I love that. But just with that is be prepared for digging into that domain. Domain knowledge is everything. And so, especially if you're analyzing data, we might not even know what the data points mean with all the acronyms and all of that. So, making sure that you really just prioritize getting into that data. I know when I was at HP, some of my first wins and like contributions that I could make were just making documentation because everything was all over the place, so many acronyms. And so I just made documents to outline, that's just the way that I learned, but it also just created documentation. So that's another thing too. You can look for ways where you can make those wins early. But yeah, domain knowledge is everything. I would use OneNote and like just track different acronyms I would hear flying around and just ask questions. And with that, I also recommend setting up one-on-one times with your department and with your stakeholders. So that's a great way where you can dig into kind of like, what are you using now? What do you like? What do you not like when it relates to the product or service that you're providing? And that's a great way for you to build relationships with them, but also for you to learn and really on board. So that's not going to be something necessarily just like laid out and your manager is going to say, you do this today, you do this today. You are going to be given that autonomy to really go out on your own and make those relationships. And I was actually just on a panel last month with Mem Connect, and a great thing that someone mentioned on there was scheduling chats with people that are not on your immediate team. That is like a huge thing to do as well, is especially when you're working remotely and in this virtual world, reach out to people on other teams, ask them, hey, what are you working on? What do you do? And that's ways where you can learn about new things that you might want to do and might want to transfer over to. But you also can just build those relationships and just keep building. They may move to a different company. They may start their own company and think, hey, this person was really cool. I want to bring them on board. So that is a tip that I loved. And I'm actually working through doing that as well. And it also can help you with that diversity aspect. So if your team may lack, someone that you're looking to connect with, you might meet a really cool person on a neighboring team that you can, connect with, have a little coffee time with, or whatever. Or people that's in your own city. I know, like with my current role, we do have an office here I need to go to. I have not yet. But I did meet someone that is here, so we're gonna go get coffee. So yeah, it's tons of different opportunities and things you can do. So I'm gonna recap. So be prepared for a lack of diversity, but there are ways around it. Do networking, go to meetups, do virtual meetups, in-person meetups, go to conferences, all those types of things. Tech is still work, so skills in project management, task management, prioritization are crucial in you excelling in any of your tech roles. You need to prioritize yourself. So really prioritize yourself by first out identifying what your tech career goals are. What do you want overall? What is the purpose of you even being in this? And then really look through in your interview process and while on the job, making sure things align with that goal and vision that you have. And job title does not equal job role. So definitely read those resumes. And domain knowledge is everything. So spend some time digging into that domain, do some interviews with some stakeholders and some team members, and figure it out. All right, well, that is everything. Let me know in the comments if there are any lessons learned that you would like to share, or if there's any questions that you have for me that you'd like to learn. And until next time, bye.